Yes.
Good morning, Honorable.
Good morning,
Makasi.
Honorable Chair.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, Honorable Makasi.
Molluscal,
Moses. Good morning, Honorable Beach.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues.
Good morning. Who else is here that I did not mention? Honorable Manaka, good morning.
Morning, Sisi. Morning, Chair.
Morning. DM Swartz, good morning. Okay. Who else is here? I do not see Honorable Paulson. I do not see Honorable Mukwena. Okay. The minister is not here. Okay. Good morning, honorable members and deputy ministers. I am going to switch off my video. I wanted you to see that I am not a robot. The time now is 9:30. Let me start, honorable members, by conveying on behalf of this portfolio committee a message of condolences to the Marais family who lost their loved ones. It is reported that the couple by the name of Ernest and Diana Marais were found murdered in Kruger National Park on Friday, the 22nd of May. We have seen that on news. We wish that the perpetrators be apprehended so that they can face the law. We really wish our heartfelt condolences to the family and in this trying time. Honorable members, at the beginning of the 6th administration, the department pursued various options for the transfer or disposal of the state plantation and indigenous state forest, with the aim of focusing on its regulatory mandate and exiting commercial forestry operations. The plantation identified for transfer has faced significant challenges, including large temporarily unplanted areas, timber theft, poor silvicultural practices, and a weak economic viability. While the transfer of indigenous state forests to conservation authorities was regarded as less contentious, the transfer of plantation to communities raised more complex issues. The department has since outlined its approach to transferring state plantations to communities and forests and to provincial authorities in the Forestry 2030 roadmap. The initial state plantation privatization or restructuring model, based largely on the disposal of state plantation, did not deliver adequate benefits to communities, leaving many communities with only rental income and a 10% shareholding. The ongoing transfer of Category B and C plantation is expected to broaden these benefits and create opportunities for SMMEs and rural communities to establish small enterprises, including those that produce treated timber poles. However, question remains regarding the extent of which these plantations are linked to existing state-owned nurseries and pole treatment plants, which are critical for access to seedlings and downstream processing capacity. And today's briefing, honorable members and colleagues, is therefore intended to update the committee on how allocated funds have been utilized to refurbish nurseries, increase seedling production, revitalize plantation, support the economic viability and sustainable management of transferred communal plantation, promote job creation, and strengthen integration into the forest value chain. With those few words, honorable members and colleagues, I welcome all of you in this meeting today. Kilega, can you fly to the agenda? Here is our agenda, honorable members. Can I get if there's any apologies?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members and everyone in the platform. Chair, we received 2 apologies today. The first one is from the Honorable Minister Okem. And then, Chair, the second and third apology is from the Deputy Ministers, Honorable Swartz and Honorable Singh. They are going to attend cabinet meetings, so they request to leave early around 10, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable members, can I then move for the adoption of the agenda? Can I get a mover for the adoption of the agenda? Honorable Kumalo.
Chairperson, good morning. Good morning to all honorable members and our officials that are on the platform. Chair, I move for the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Managa. Honorable Managa.
Thank you so
Kindly
much,
unmute.
Honorable Chair. I was struggling to unmute. I raised my hand to second the move, Honorable Juliet Kumalo, for the
Thank
adoption
you.
of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Managa. We are now going to move to item 2. I'm going to hand over to Honorable Deputy Minister Swartz to do an overview. Over to you, Honorable Swartz.
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Deputy Minister Singh, Director General of the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, Ms. Nomfundo Shabalala, senior officials of the DFFE and SEFCOL. Ladies and gentlemen, greetings to you all. Today we are pleased to provide the committee with an update on the current status of state nurseries in South Africa, as well as progress regarding the transfer of state plantations to local communities, both of which are key initiatives in our broader forestry and rural development agenda. As outlined in the presentation provided, the department manages 7 state nurseries strategically located across the country, all dedicated to supporting the National Greening Program. We have seen a positive trend in production levels with an increase from 289,167 plants in the 2023-24 financial year to 384,291 plants per annum currently. This growth is a direct result of the comprehensive measures implemented, including the development of nursery policies, a 2-year refurbishment plan focusing on infrastructure and inputs, improved seed collection, and enhanced security. Furthermore, we are strengthening management at all nurseries and have implemented a new branch structure to ensure synergy. Human capacity is being bolstered through the employment of the expanded public works program workers and a concerted effort to fill critical vacant permanent posts. The refurbishment plan has already yielded significant improvements as evidenced by the upgrades to fencing, shade nets, water systems, and irrigation across various nurseries. These efforts are crucial to increasing our production capacity to target of 450,000 trees per annum, thereby ensuring a greater contribution to the National Greening Programme. The sustainable operation of state nurseries remains contingent upon consistent financial support to effectively enhance strategic planning, infrastructure development, and human resource initiatives. The transfer of state plantations to communities is guided by clear legislation and implemented through targeted interventions to address key challenges and ensure sustainable outcomes. Effective transfer of plantations to local communities necessitates thorough capacity building and sustained technical and financial support to ensure responsible management, long-term sustainability, and equitable distribution of benefits. Key challenges include an aging workforce, unplanted areas, security, land invasions, and funding for post-settlement support. Interventions focus on early retirement, EPWP employment, and collaboration with law enforcement. A formal process has been initiated to identify and engage strategic partners for the development and management of plantations as part of the broader implementation of the post-settlement support strategy. This effort is being undertaken in close collaboration with key stakeholders across the private sector and relevant government entities, including Department of Land Reform and Rural Development, to ensure coordinated, sustainable, and impactful outcomes. 39 CFAs have been signed with ongoing support and evaluation of strategic partners to drive transformation and economic development. While leasing is ongoing in the Western Cape, some areas remain unleased and are subject to invasions. Our aim is to foster sustainable forest management, promote transformation within the sector, and drive economic development in the communities surrounding these valuable state assets. Honorable members, in our presentations will provide an update on the performance of state nurseries, including production levels, infrastructure upgrades, and workforce development, all critical to advancing the National Greening Programme. We'll further present on the transfer of state plantations to communities, the structure and implementation of community forestry agreements, the framework for post-settlement support, and an update on progress achieved today. To date, it is our privilege to appear before the committee, whose insightful engagement and collaborative oversight play a vital role in advancing our shared goals and strengthening national development. We look forward to discussing these developments further and addressing any questions you may have. Thank you for the opportunity to engage with the committee on these critical issues, and we remain committed, transparent, and constructive dialogue in service to our shared objectives. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members.
Thank you, Honorable DM Swartz. Honorable DM Singh, do you have any few remarks to say? I've heard that you both apologized. You will be leaving. Honorable Singh? Okay, maybe he is then covered by Honorable DM Swartz. I'm trying to go back to my...
Yes, Chair.
Can you fly to the agenda again? I'm trying to go back to it, but I cannot find it now. Who will be leading the presentation?
Chairperson, can I
Yes,
give the
DM?
list of the delegation? I'm requesting,
Yes, I'm
Chair,
sorry
that
for that.
through your permission, if I can give you the list of the participants from the DFFE being led by the DG.
Thank you, TM. It was just an oversight from my side. You can go through the list, TM. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable members. In the delegation for the Portfolio Committee meeting scheduled for today is Ms. Nomfunda Shabalala, the Director General, Ms. Nomphumeza Nodada, the Deputy Director General of Forestry Management, Ms. Tebogo Matiane, Chief Director of Forestry Development, and Ms. Muranga Litsika, Chief Director, State Forest Management and Land Administration. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson and Honorable Member.
Thank you, DM. DG, over to you. DG
Thank you very
Chabalala.
much. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Good morning to yourself, Chair. Good morning to the Deputy Ministers online. Good morning to the honorable members. Chair, thank you very much. I am here with the team as already highlighted by DM Swartz. We are going to be taking the committee through 2 items. The first one is the one on the revitalization of the state nurseries and plantation. And I'm going to request, Chair, that the DDG, Ms. Nodada, leads with the presentation. I'm not quite sure, Chair, do you want us to present both presentations? I think as per the agenda, possibly.
Yes, DG, present both.
Okay.
Both
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair. We will then present both inputs. They will be led by the DDG, Ms. Nodada, and thereafter we will then take comments and the questions from the committee. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, DG. Over to you, Mam Nodada.
Good morning, Honorable Chair. Good morning, Honorable Members, Deputy Ministers, DG and colleagues. Okay. So I will start with the presentation that deals with the revitalization of plantations. If we can go to the next slide, please. The department manages 7 state nurseries that are in the 6 provinces. There are 2 in the Northwest and 1 each in the Free State, Limpopo, KwaZulu-Natal, Northern Cape, and the Western Cape. And these, we are managing them in such a way that they are able to support the National Greening Program, which is one of our flagship programs that deals with planting of trees, both in households and in areas that are managed by municipalities and in areas that we call safe spaces like churches and institutions of education. So in this program, we are then, in terms of nursery management, managing about 18 hectares. And these nurseries have a potential to produce over 880,000 trees per annum. But we are currently just less than 400,000 production plants per annum due to the challenges that we have and that we are dealing with. In terms of the number of employees, the permanent employees, we are currently at 36, and we have about 20 vacant posts. Then in the next slide, we outline what is happening in each of the provinces with their sizes in terms of the hectareage, the current production level, the potential, and also the personnel that we have, where we are indicating that we are currently, in terms of the post-establishment, at 56 people that we are supposed to be having, but we are currently having about 20 vacant posts with 6 that have already been advertised, and the remaining 14 are in the next phase of advertising that we will do.
Menodada, can you just hold on a bit? There is a person called Mwema PMG. This person's mic is on. Apologies for that. Menodada, you can continue.
Thank you very much, Chair. So on this slide, I think the Deputy Minister in his opening address did indicate that we have a revitalization plan that we are currently implementing. And this plan outlines a number of issues that we had identified that needed to be rectified. The first one was that we needed to have a necessary policy and a standard operating procedure that will then ensure that there is uniformity in terms of the management of the nurseries, because in some cases you would find out a different nursery will be doing something different without a common goal. So that assisted in terms of ensuring that all the nurseries are working towards a common goal of ensuring that we have quality plants that we can then be able to plant as part of the National Greening Program. Then the plan itself has been implemented over a 2-year period. And what it looked at was how do we optimize the production levels and also ensuring that we have all the necessary inputs, including the PPE and also the equipment that is required by the employees that are working in the nurseries. The other area that it focused on is infrastructure, where we had to look at which nurseries did not have water, how do we secure water availability, how do we ensure that when water is available, we have irrigation systems, but also renovate the buildings that these nurseries were having. The other matter was dealing with seed collection, where we had to ensure that we improve our seed collection capacity so that it contributes towards the improvement of the production levels within the nurseries. And that would then also reduce the amount of money that is then used to go in terms of purchasing seedlings that would then be propagated within the nurseries. The other major issue was on security, where the department is currently finalizing the appointment of a security company, but we have then appointed forest monitors that we are using for access control and also ensuring that there is visibility within the nurseries. Then on the next slide, we also had to ensure that we strengthen the management in the nurseries. We had, I think in 2022, 23 had a newly approved structure, and that structure ensured that all the functions that are related to the greening program are in one unit. And then it also allowed that the directorate that is dealing with the greening is paired with the unit that was dealing with necessary management before, and that ensured that there is synergy and working together between those two, now that the two units were in one directorate. And then we also looked at a holistic approach in terms of refurbishment instead of doing a piecemeal approach, where there were some areas that were being challenges, and then how we would make sure that those challenges are implemented. And then we also, through the internal audit team that we have in the department, we also asked them to do an evaluation and to look at what actions we needed to develop or needed to improve on. And then an action plan was then developed, and then we are already implementing that. Linked to this was ensuring that we have enough human capacity, where we are now having about 240 EPWP that are employed in all the nurseries, and we are also prioritizing the filling of the 20 vacant posts that we have. Then on the next slide. So what we have done is that the refurbishment plan, we review it on an annual basis, where we look at what has been achieved in that particular year, what are outstanding areas that we need to deal with, or else are there any new areas of improvement that we need to focus on and identify whatever gaps that we've picked up during the review. And then with that information, we then develop a new plan for each year, and then we would then focus on that particular plan. So for the previous financial year, we have then ensured that we have all the equipment that we need. We've also looked at infrastructure development where nurseries have now been fenced, and we've also put in some shade nets to increase the area so that we can be able to have more plants being propagated. We have electricity that has been installed in some of the nurseries, including Mafikeng and Bloemhof. Also, we've looked at issues of water availability, where we have in Kwakwa and Woolsley, tanks have been procured. And then in Upington, we have upgraded the existing irrigation system so that it can function better to ensure that there is continuous water availability. Then on the next slide, we are just in the next few slides showing what has been done in all these nurseries. In areas where there hasn't been fencing, we've put in new fencing. In areas where there hasn't been shade nets, we've put in shade nets. In areas where there hasn't been water, we've improved the irrigation systems. And in some areas, we have bought new JoJo tanks so that these nurseries can function better. So I think in the last slide, we then look at that we currently have over 384,000 plants that we are producing this financial year, an increase from 251,000. And this year we want to focus to increase our production to over 450,000. And with the work that we are already doing, we want to see this happening so that we can ensure that the National Greening Program is supported. We have seen that in the previous year, it was not only just the number of plants that has increased, but the quality of the trees that we are now having in the nurseries has improved very well, and that is in contributing to the greening program. And one of the last priorities that we want to deal with is to ensure that we have filled all the critical posts within the nurseries that we operate in to ensure that all these nurseries are managed sustainably. I think that would be the end of the first presentation, Honorable Chair. If we can move to the next one. On the next third slide. Thank you very much. Okay. So I will now move on to the presentation that deals with the transfer of plantations to communities. In this presentation, we indicate that besides the nurseries that we manage in the 6 provinces, we also have plantations that we manage in different provinces of the country, in Limpopo, Mpumalanga, Northwest, Western Cape, Eastern Cape, and KwaZulu-Natal. And we manage there about 104,000 hectares of plantations, where the bulk of the area is what we call commercial forestry areas. So these commercial forestry areas are the areas that we are able to plant, and some do not have not been planted due to harvesting. And then the non-commercial areas, which is about 46,000 hectares, are those areas that would either be your natural forests or areas where we have built roads, or areas what we call open spaces. So in terms of the plantations that we are managing in these 6 provinces, they have been categorized as category B and C plantations, and these are a mixture of smaller commercially viable plantations that are targeted for commercial exploitation by small-scale growers, but also some of them comprises of woodlands that were established to supply rural communities with local fuel and building materials. In the next slide, we mentioned that in the 104,000 hectares that we manage, that excludes the Western Cape, which is about 20,000 hectares. It's just about 20,000 hectares. And these areas of the Western Cape, we had to advertise them to get one of the interested investors to lease the areas. And currently over 14,000 hectares have been leased in the Southern Cape, and an operation license has been issued with the finalization of the lease pending the concurrence by the DPWI. So there's an area in the Bowland, which is just over 7,000 hectares, that even though we had advertised for strategic partners to assist with the management of these areas, and these have not received positive results. And we are currently managing those areas as a department through assistance by the EPWP that we have employed in the area. And also we have challenges with regards to land invasions of about 2,000 hectares. But what we are doing in addition to the support that we are working with the EPWP is ensuring that through the Working on Fire bases that are located in Grabo, Lebanon, and Klikkiskral, we are able to ensure that there is fire protection services that are provided for those plantations. Then in the next slide, in this slide, we indicate that in terms of the work that we do for the management of plantations, we are guided by the National Forest Act and also the white paper on sustainable forest development that was issued in 1996. So this white paper indicated that the state needed to withdraw from the management of plantations, and hence we then had the National Forest Act promulgated in 1998 as a legal framework to implement this function. So in terms of the National Forest Act, we are able to move away from the direct management of plantations through utilization of sections 27 and section 29. Section 27 provides for the minister to enter into community forestry agreements with communities, whilst section 27 allows for minister to enter into lease agreements with different partners, but also is able to license the activities that the lessee must carry. Then on the next slide, we deal with the challenges and interventions that we are trying to implement in terms of management of these plantations. We have four main challenges that we are focusing on. The first one dealing with the aging and ailing workforce. So what we are doing here is consideration of applications for early retirement, and we've had a number of employees taking up this initiative, and the additional incentives that have come through the DPSA has also assisted in terms of ensuring that this workforce is able to retire early. And then what we are doing with those posts that are now available is repurposing them and ensuring that we are able to fill the critical posts that we need in line with the new structure that we have, where we are already focusing towards moving away from the direct management of plantations and moving towards the regulatory function and also provision of support to these communities that have taken up the responsibility of managing these plantations. Then the next challenge is the high temporal the high temporary unplanted areas, where these areas would be where there has been harvesting, and we have now appointed EPWP to assist with the planting of these areas, but also to assist with silvicultural practices. And we have seen throughout the years that with this support, we have been able to increase our targets from 4,500 to 6,500 annually. And these silvicultural practices assist in terms of ensuring that these plantations are maintained. There's a reduced fuel load and also weeds that contribute to possibilities of fires. And that is how we ensure that to try and reduce those fires, we are able to deal with the silvicultural practices. The other issue is security, where we are collaborating with the sector through the master plan, but also working with the South African police services in terms of awareness training and training of our prosecuting authorities, so that when the forestry crimes are reported, they are able to understand the seriousness of those crimes, but also how to attend to them. We have also in the process of appointing a security company to assist with the plantation security, but also we have forest monitors that we have appointed to assist with visibility. In terms of land invasions, we are collaborating with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure, as most of our plantations, they are the landowner and we are a user department, and they assist us in terms of getting preservation and eviction orders. We also engage with the communities in terms of awareness creation for them to have information in terms of the importance of forests, in terms of rural economic development, and why we would want to ensure that these forests are protected. Also, we collaborate with the Department of Land Reform to ensure that there's fast tracking of the claims, and this is also part of the master plan process. Then going into the community forestry agreements, as indicated, this is through Section 29 of the Act, and Sections 29 to 31 then outline the processes that need to be followed in terms of entering into these forestry agreements. So in terms of Section 29, the communities are able to engage with the minister to make an offer to enter into the agreements. And then the minister also has an obligation to invite communities to submit such offers. And in terms of the process itself, we look at how it's set out in the Act, but also in terms of sustainable forest management, we have used some principles in terms of Section 3 of the Act, where we have said, even though communities are able to approach the minister, how do we then ensure that these forests are kept within or are managed as forests and there is no changes that may happen? So in terms of those principles, we've looked at that in these communities, there can not be any change of land use unless the minister approves. So what would happen is that a community would write to the minister and indicate what kind of land use change they would want to propose. And then because these are proclaimed as state forests, we would then want to understand why such changes would need to happen and go into site visits and discussions. But the main aim is to make sure that the forests are managed as forests, because we do not have a lot of areas that we have a possibility to expand in terms of the forestry business. We also look at recognition of people's rights, transformation in the sector, consultation, and also provision of post-settlement support. Then in terms of post-settlement support, as a department, we have developed a post-settlement support strategy. And based on that strategy, we have a package that we are using in terms of supporting these communities. The package itself has 4 pillars that deals with capacity building, where mainly we are able to train the beneficiaries with support from the fiber processing and manufacturing sector, Education and Training Authority. We also look at business support, where we work with the industry, technical support, where we both work with the industry as well, and also issues of regulatory work, where we are looking at how do we provide an enabling environment for the communities. So as much as we do have this package, there are some challenges that we have in terms of funding, but there are some initiatives that we are working on in terms of ensuring that we are able to ensure that these communities do participate. Then on the next slide, we're just outlining the number of agreements that we have signed so far since 2016-17 up to 2025-26, where we have over 35,000 hectares that are now managed by the communities. Then on the next slide, we deal with what we have managed to do in terms of the implementation of the community forestry agreements, but also how have we provided post-settlement support. So in terms of capacity building, there has been training of beneficiaries of about 387 in the community, in the plantations or in the communities in and around these community forestry agreement areas. We have provided support through fire breaks and subscription to fire protection associations. These associations assist in terms of working together in managing fires within their areas. And also as a department, as part of the work that is outlined within the community forestry agreement itself, is that there must be a development of a management plan, and linked to that would then be a provision of a strategic partner. So we have then issued a request for proposals for strategic partners, and we are currently evaluating those proposals. We've also provided technical support in terms of how the forests should be managed, and also in terms of regulatory support, we have assisted in terms of identifying areas of compliance. And then lastly, on this presentation, for us to be able to provide adequate support for these communities, we do rely on the industry coming in and investing in these plantations. And as a result, we are now in a process of fast-tracking the evaluation of the proposals so that these communities can be capacitated in terms of managing the plantations. Then we will also continue to provide the post-settlement support and also ensuring that these plantations are effectively managed as they contribute towards the transformation and economic development of the rural communities within the plantations that the communities are currently managing. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nodada. Honorable members, those were the two presentations. I am now going to take hands or note hands for any clarity-seeking questions. I see the hand of Honorable Kumalo. She will be followed by Honorable Peters. After Honorable Peters will be Honorable Makasi. She will be followed by Honorable Mukwena. Then Honorable De Block. I have just received an indication that Honorable Bilangulu is struggling to raise her hand. So after Honorable De Block, it will be Honorable Kate Bilangulu. In that order, honorable members.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to welcome the presentation and appreciate it, Chairperson. I'm just having two questions in the first presentation. One, how is adherence to the nursery policy and SOPs ensured across all nurseries? And how are non-compliance issues addressed? What are the reasons for prolonged staff vacancies, and what measures are in place to expedite recruitment for nursery management's sustainability? On the second presentation, Chairperson, what form of training has been given to subs to date? How many officers have been trained in which areas? Have forest monitors been appointed? If yes, what has been the impact of this? How are forests managed at night to prevent theft? What will be the duration of the post-settlement support package? What is the precise budget allocation per pillar? And what are the total cost projections in the long run? Lastly, Chair, given the stated main challenge is the availability of funds for post-settlement support, what specific actionable financial mechanism or funding streams are being actively pursued, and what are their projected timelines for securing additional capital? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Peters.
Thank you so much, Chair. And may I also just thank the presenter for the presentation. Chair, will start with the nurseries that continue to operate below optimal production capacity, despite their potential to produce approximately 880,000 plants annually now. It was presented that the new target is 450,000. So I have a concern there because that is only half of what could be produced on an annual basis. Then my next question would be, the department planned to conclude 8 additional community forestry agreements by the end of 2025, but it is not clear whether this target was achieved, which raises concerns regarding the APP commitments. And then also my last question would be, of the 29 transfer agreements concluded with the communities, capacity building trainings, etc., that was also conducted and presented just now, how many are fully operational and are actually benefiting the communities economically? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Peters. Honorable Makasi.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to Umam Nodada for the presentation, and greetings to the DMs in the platform and honorable members, including the officials that are present in the meeting. I just want to check, Chair, from the first presentation, the questions directed to the presenter, if was there no government land available for the department to form the nurseries, as opposed to renting or unclaimed land? And how does DFFE ensure equitable application of Section 29 versus Section 27 of the NFA? And what are the definitive criteria for selecting one model over the other for a given plantation? And what concrete enforcement mechanisms are in place to uphold NFA principles of no charge in land use and recognition of people's rights when community development goals conflict with this stipulation? And how much is allocated to this program in the department? And the last question, Chair, would be considering the progress of 39 signed community forestry agreement, what is DFFE's critical assessment on the overall state of delivery in achieving transformation and economic development objectives? And what are the key actionable lessons learned from the implementation that will inform future transfers. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Mokoena.
Thank you very much, Chair, and greetings to everyone on the platform. Chair, I've got two questions on the first presentation. Beyond production numbers, how is the impact of increased plant stock measured, including tree survival rates and community benefits? What is the long-term financial sustainability model for the state nurseries, and how will their continued operation be ensured? Then on the second presentation, beyond DFFE's direct aid, what specific financial incentives or guarantees are being offered to attract private sector investment into community managed plantations, and what is the quantifiable success rates of this initiative to date? What quantifiable metrics are being used to measure the effectiveness of intervention for security and land invasion, and what are the current trends in reported incidents since these measures were implemented? With 19 CFAs signed in 2023-2024, how is the DFFE ensuring that capacity building and technical support are scalable and effectively tailored to diverse needs of these new entities? And what are the current beneficiary training completion rates across all signed CFAs? What specific action are being taken to expedite the leasing of Western Cape plantations currently installed by DPWI concurrence and unresponsive request for proposals? And what is the projected timeline for resolving the unleased areas in Boland? Lastly, Chair, what are the key performance indicators for strategic partners, and how will their performance be rigorously monitored to ensure genuine community capacitation rather than mere contractual fulfillment? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mokoena. Honorable Diplock.
Thank you, Chair. And I would like to just begin by echoing your condolences to the Murray family. Thank you for bringing that up at the start of this. It was a very tragic incident that should never have happened. So we do send out our best as a committee to the Murray family. Chair, I have a couple of questions. Firstly, on the first presentation around the nurseries. There are 35% of production and 40% vacancy rates, which is obviously unacceptably low. And I'm glad to hear that there are actions in place to improve this. I'd like to ask, firstly, the timeframes around this improvement. When can we expect this improvement by, and some kind of future plan? But more importantly than that, what consequence and performance management has taken place as a result of this? Which officials have been held accountable, and how have they been dealt with? Then, Chair, the nurseries, I'd like to ask if they are commercially competitive with the private sector. And if not, would it not be cheaper and better value for money for the National Greening Program to source from the private sector, given that we are obliged to provide value for money in this department for our procurement? What was identified in the internal audit of these nurseries that the DDG mentioned, and how are these being addressed? And were corruption and or irregular procurement part of the findings of this internal audit? And then lastly, on the nurseries, which species are being produced? Are they indigenous and or fruit bearing? And are they being placed in areas that are ecologically sensible for those species to be? Then on the plantations, Chair, I'd like to ask which plantations currently that have been transferred to communities are operating sustainably. In other words, are there examples of successes where communities have been able to establish operations that are independent of the state's post-settlement support? So successful examples of this program doing what it's supposed to do. Then are business plans and feasibility addressed before the CFAs are commenced to ensure that there's a good chance of them reaching that point where they're no longer needing support from the state? Then Honourable Kamala has covered me on the cost of support packages, but I'd like to go one further and ask what timeframes are included in the CFAs for that post-settlement support, and what happens if communities cannot become self-sufficient before the conclusion of that post-settlement support happens? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Tiplok. Honorable Bilangulu. Honorable Kate Bilangulu. Okay.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson, and good morning to your good selves and the two DMs and everyone else in the platform. I also want to pay condolences to the Marais families. Also to remind the family that in Psalm 34, verse 18, the Lord says he is closer to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Thank you, Chairperson. Chair, I also want to welcome the two presentations by the department. And I'm having only a few questions to raise with them. On status of revitalizations of state nurseries in South Africa, I've got two questions to ask. How are state nurseries adapting to climate change by prioritizing resilient species and infrastructure for extreme weather events? And what is the long-term strategy for ensuring planted trees are suitable for future climates and monitoring their ecological impact? With the transfers of state plantation to communities, Chair, I also have a few questions. Given the 1996 White Paper's mandate for state withdrawal, what specific policy amendments are being considered to prevent a return to state dependency if community-led plantation management falters? How many plantations are in each of the provinces? And how many of those will be transferred, and which ones will still be under DFFE? Thirdly, how are communities selected for these nurseries? Is there a budget set aside for personnel? If so, why has that been a challenge considering the unemployment plaguing our communities? And where does the harvest of this plantation go? Does they sell or it's being donated? The last question, Chair. Who is the designated focal point within the DFFE responsible for overseeing plantation transfers and post-settlement support? And what specific mandate do they possess to address interdepartmental challenges and ensure robust accountability? I thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Bilangulu. Honorable Temba.
Thank you very much, Chair. Just want to check, Chair, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Oh, thank you very much. Greetings to all the members and everyone in the platform. I only have two questions to ask this morning, which is my questions are as follows. On the quality of support, RFP for strategic partners only closes March 2026. That means for 8 years, communities were handed plantations with no strategic partner model. How many of the early CFAs have already collapsed? On transformation claims, You want industry to participate because DFFE is broke? Are you privatizing your constitutional duties to support land reform communities? What will happen if industry says no? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Temba. Honorable De Blok, I see that your hand is still up. Or is that a legacy hand? Oh.
Legacy hand, apologies, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Just few questions from my side because I don't see any. Oh, Honorable Managa, before I go to my questions, over to you.
Ndodibuwa Chairperson, thank you so much for the opportunity. We should all be reminded that forestry sector is identified as one of the sectors that play a crucial role in the sustainable economic, that plays a very crucial role in sustaining and also in making sure that we get economic growth in the country. So we need to warn the department that anything that will be against, or let me put it this way, Honorable Chair, the privatization of any kind or of any sort, as the economic freedom fighters, we're not going to support it. We are anti-privatization. That one is a fact and should be known. So I have these few questions that I want to ask Bonodada. Can they provide us with an update on the total transfers allocated to the forestry sector? That includes amounts transferred to date, the beneficiaries, and the progress that is achieved through these transfers. What measures do the department has to address the operational, the financial, and the management challenges that the state nurseries are currently facing? How do they intend, House Chair, to ensure that there's optimal functioning, sustainability, and productivity in the state nurseries in order to remedy the current undesired status quo and to improve the seedling production capacity? I thank you so much.
Thank you, Honorable Managa. From my side, Honorable members and DG and the team, I have also a few questions. In 2008, when the Forestry 2030 roadmap was crafted, the DAF committed to assisting communities with the business model that ensured the involvement of a strategic partner and the identification and verification of land beneficiaries were identified as a challenge in finalizing the plantation transfers. So how many communities are targeted for 2030 and the extent of plantations to be transferred? What defines a community as definitions differs, and whether they will be in a form of communal property association, a trust, a cooperative, what form of juristic person is a community? And the following question: one of the challenges faced by emerging growers is a corporate dominated extension service that positions them as raw material suppliers rather than creating opportunities for entrepreneurs to operate in downstream processing and non-timber value chain segments. So given the current inadequacy of existing support and capacity in the department, how does the department plan to provide comprehensive value chain-wide extension services to communities without creating a dependency trap or duplicating the functions already performed by industry cooperatives. The third one, before the last one, given that South Africa currently faces a structural deficit in domestic timber supply, what specific key performance indicators has the department established to measure the output of community forestry agreements? And furthermore, how is the department's post-settlement support driving production capacity building to ensure that these community assets materially close the domestic supply gap? Is the department tracking the conversion of temporarily unplanted areas into active high-yield production units on already transferred plantations? And the last one, how does the DFFE's collaboration with the Working on Fire program, including the provision of fire breaks and aerial support, integrate into the broader plantation plans to mitigate the risk and the impact of fires? And what specific performance indicators are used to assess the effectiveness of these fire management strategies? Thank you, and over to you, DG and Ms. Nodada. I do not see any other hand. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the honorable members for the questions. I am going to request the team to respond to the specific issues that have been raised by members. But I think one of the critical aspects that I just want to comment on, Chair, I think firstly, as a department, we do recognize the importance of forestry and the sector in as far as economic growth is concerned. And the manner in which we actually have outlined policies and legislation in the department is such that it is to encourage participation in the economy, but also to ensure that there is contribution not only by the commercial sector or any other private forestry sector, but also to ensure that we also empower our various communities for them to participate meaningfully in the industry. Chair, I think one of the critical points looking at our two presentations that has been raised is around the issue of transformation. And as DFFE, we are very clear in as far as this is concerned, and we've framed transformation to relate to issues of community ownership, and also not only just owning in as far as the forestry is concerned, but there must be inclusive participation across the value chain and issues of ensuring that we manage and these forestry are managed in a sustainable manner. And one of the critical aspects also, Chair, is that we then therefore would have come up with the Forestry Master Plan, which has a number of key result areas. And the Forestry Master Plan brings together various stakeholders, bringing together the stakeholders from the industry itself, and also workers and other interested party to ensure that as government, for us to meaningfully ensure that this sector contributes to growth, we involve all the relevant stakeholders. And one of the critical aspect, Chair, which we are highlighting here is that yes, we do have nurseries, and the nurseries are very allocated such that they are close to the various plantations that we have as government. But we continue also to look at measures that we put in place to maximize productivity of our nurseries, so that at the end of the day, when then we need to upkeep our various plantation, we utilize our existing government nurseries in as far as the productivity is concerned. Chair, I am going to request that the DDG response to the specific questions that have been raised by members, especially when it comes to issues in relation to the performance of our nurseries, but also how do we ensure that when it gets to the CFAs, which is your community forestry agreements, how do we then ensure sustainability? We do have the chief directors and officials that are on the ground in terms of management of plantation, and they will also assist in terms of responding to the details in relation to all the questions that have been raised by the members. I will hand over to the DDG to go specifically to the individual questions as already posed. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, DG. Over to you, Ma'am Nodada.
Thank you very much, DG. Thank you, Honorable Chair and Honorable members. Okay, so I think if you allow me, Chair, maybe we can ask the team to respond on specific issues, and then whatever they have not responded to, then I can try and add on, so that we are a bit synchronized. Maybe we can start with the questions that deal with the nurseries, and then after Ntate Matiane has responded, I will add if there's anything that I would want to add, and then we go to Meliseke to deal with the issues related to the plantations. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Ma'am Nodada. In that order, the team. We'll start with nurseries. Questions. Ma'am Nodada, which one you said will be responding first?
Matiane?
Okay.
Okay, I see he's unmuted.
Matiane. We can't hear you,
Maybe, yeah.
Tebogo. We cannot hear you. Tebogo, can you hear us?
Okay, no, I think there might be some challenges with
Technical
yes.
challenge.
Okay. So I think, Chair, just to try and deal with some of the issues that have been raised. We do recognize that there are issues with regards to the production levels, and those are obviously affected by the vacancy rates that we have. But also they are impacted by the infrastructure challenges that are in the nurseries themselves. So with the revitalization plan, what we have done is that we have looked at what issues do we need to deal with. For instance, what internal audit had raised was the issues related to how staff is being managed, issues of training, issues related to management, where the development of the policy had to be attended to, issues of infrastructure, where even though there was propagation within those nurseries, due to the fact that the fencing is not up to standard, due to the fact that there's no available water. So that would then impact on the production. So with the work that we are now currently doing in terms of making sure that there's water available, there's irrigation systems are sorted out, there is fencing to make sure that when the seedlings are there, no one is coming in to steal, and there's visibility in terms of monitors, then we are able to reduce the impacts that affect production. So with that in mind, that is why we are now starting to see production going up. It is not at an ideal place as yet, and we would want to at least have production levels going up to about 80-90%, so that we can then be able to have enough trees on the ground. And as indicated, the focus also is not just on the number of trees that we can have, it's also on the quality of the trees that we are able to produce. We in terms of the National Greening Program, to try and respond to the question that was raised by Member to Block, if I'm remembering correctly, in terms of the National Greening Program, there are trees that we are purchasing from the private sector, mainly the fruit trees and some of the indigenous trees, because our nurseries only are providing or are propagating indigenous trees. So those are the only trees that we are currently having in our own nurseries. And then we use additional budget to purchase trees from the private sector. Then in terms of adaptation with regards to issues related to climate change, what we have done is we work with the ARC and SANBI, where we have developed a priority species list. And this list looks at our indigenous trees and how these can survive in the different areas. So we then try and ensure that we are able to plant or have certain trees during winter and certain trees during summer, and how do we make sure that those that are sensitive in the sun are grown under shades, etc. So as we work with these institutions, we try and make sure that even with regards to the seeds that we collect, we work with SANBI as well on that, so that the seeds that we are collecting are able to assist us in terms of the growing of the trees. And then I think with regards to, okay, let me see what's also on the nurseries. In terms of the total projected cost for refurbishment, what we have done is we've looked at the budget that we have, but we've looked at how we can ensure that with the costs of refurbishment over the next 3 to 5 years, how can we make sure that we are able to manage. Currently, the greening program itself is almost about 20 million, with about 6 million being used for the refurbishment of these nurseries. And we then try and make sure that with whatever is available, we are able to provide the support that is required. And then in terms of the staff vacancies, we do have budget set aside for COE, but the challenge is that there isn't enough budget for the whole branch to do all appointments at the same time. So what we do on a quarterly basis is then to prioritize which posts will be prioritized for the branch, and we have prioritized for the posts within nursery management to make sure that we are able to get qualified people for management and also for operational work, and then that will assist us in terms of ensuring that we have an increased production of the plants. Then in terms of the SOP and the nursery policy, so this policy is implemented in the nurseries, and what we do is, besides getting internal audit to come through and do the audits, we also within ourselves as teams go through what we call peer review, where we make sure that the SOP is adhered to. And once we pick up that there is a non-adherence to those, their findings are raised, and each of those managers responsible are expected to ensure that they implement those findings accordingly, in line with the action plans that would have been developed. Also, what we do is we've realized that if there's areas in terms of some nurseries that are performing better than others, and then we learn from those from each other in terms of how do we ensure that each of the nurseries are supported. I'm not sure which one I have not covered in terms of the nurseries, but maybe in terms of the specific ones that would ask in terms of the types of species that are in the in the nurseries, we can then provide the list of species that we have there in writing. And then I'm not sure if also Mr. Matiane is able to speak. And if not, Chair, if you allow me, we can go to the other questions that are dealing with plantations and ask Ms. Lesege to start to respond to those.
I think I'm able to speak now, if you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Matiane.
Okay, apologies, Chair, and apologies to the members. We had a technical difficulty. I will just, with your permission, Chair, continue on the other aspects that I feel I can add to what the DDG has already presented.
Okay.
Now, with regards to the question that was raised by Honorable Khumalo, I think it was with regards to the land that is being leased for nurseries. Most of the time, the land in which we operate, we work with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure. And indeed, in some instances, leased land has got its own challenges. But we've already started engagements with the Department of Public Works and Infrastructure to ensure that wherever our nurseries are located, we are in land that there is stability in terms of tenure and also in terms of ownership. We have already started with the nursery in Ulundi, and we also soon will be doing the same with the nursery in Uppington. And it is our plan to review all the nurseries to actually check the status and make sure that we've got stability in terms of tenure in that regard. Then there was a question that was asked by Honorable Peters in terms of the below optimum production capacity, that we are just moving to 450,000 instead of the 880. When we started with the refurbishment plan, we looked at two components of the plan. One plan is looking at the refurbishment and revitalization of infrastructure. But one component is also looking at the production side, meaning mostly your operational and inputs related. Now, what we have come to realize is that with a nursery, water is a very crucial ingredient. And if resources were available, we would have want to have revitalized the irrigation systems in all of our nurseries, because that's where we can try and enhance our production. But because we've got limited resources, we're taking this in phases. Every year, we would identify which nurseries, maybe 3 or 4, where we will really invest in the infrastructure development. And then while in the other nurseries, we also strengthen the production aspect. So at the rate that we are going, we thinking and we are envisaging that in 3 years' time we should have gone through all the nurseries and hopefully be closer to our target of 880. Now, there was also the question that was raised by Honorable Bilankulu. This related to issues of climate change and long-term strategy in terms of the nurseries and the species that are being produced at these nurseries. Now, the department has established a priority species list, and this list was developed based on indigenous species and species that are endemic to that particular area. So it means in the different provinces, we look at the agroecological zones and make sure that the trees that we produce there are trees that can withstand the harsh and hardy conditions that might come as a result of climate change, where we might have issues of frost, droughts, prolonged droughts, as well as prolonged sessions where we've got heat. Now, even the structures, because they play a role, we've developed our structures in such a way that when there is hail or there is storms, the structure is able to withstand that. That in some instances, we don't use a flat structure, but we use a structure with a slanting angle so that either hail or excessive rain can slant and fall over. Now, we also, in terms of our seed collection, collect in those areas where natural selection has taken place. And we also include the aspect of making sure that we select parent trees that are taken from good genetic makeup and progeny. Because if we select trees in one and the same area over time, we'll be causing what they call inbreeding. Then the quality of plants over time becomes affected. So that is the issue around the climate change and also the selection of trees. Now, there was also the issue raised by Honorable De Block in terms of the policies and SOPs, and also the issue of internal audit and what was identified in the internal audit. When the internal audit was done at that particular time, it identified that the nurseries did not have like an operational policy guideline and standard operating procedure, which would be useful for standardization across all nurseries. And then there wasn't segregation of duties. This was with regards to issues on where nurseries are selling plants and it was a requirement that there would be one person who deals with the sales, the actual sales on the site, and then one person who captures and receives the money, and then a segregation in terms of those who will do banking. And then there was an issue about the display of tariffs so that there's openness and transparency, the safeguarding of nurseries, staff supervision and training. I am pleased to announce to the members that this we have addressed, and I think there's a question that related to the fact to say what measures do we put in place to ensure that there's adherence to the policy as well as SOPs. We have regular inspections that come from national office to the nurseries to check also on these issues that have been identified by internal audit, whether are they being implemented or not. And then issues like training for nursery workers is those issues that we try and assist the nursery managers from head office to say these are the programs that they have to put in place from time to time to ensure that the nursery workers are trained. But in addition to the inspection visits or the site visits by head office, we also have a peer review mechanism where we allow the nursery managers from the different nurseries to meet, and they also present on these different aspects that has been identified in terms of the internal audit. And we try to ask the one who is excelling in one of this particular aspect to be taking the lead in that presentation so that they learn from one another. I think I have tried to address those that needed to be supplemented on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Matiane. The second set of the questions, DDG.
Thank you, Chair. We can ask Ms. Lesege to start. Thank you.
Ms. Lesege.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members, DG and colleagues. I will respond to the questions relating to the transfer of the management of DFFE plantations. Maybe from the beginning, Honorable Chair and members, the transfer of the management of plantations is not related to the community property association. It's not a land restitution process. Some of this land that we are entering into the agreements with are not under land lien. So it's a community forestry agreement that is catered for by the Act. I thought I should make that difference from the get-go. So there was a question from Honorable Khumalo regarding the training of with SAPS members. Although this is not my section, but I am aware that they are being trained in line with the National Forest Act in terms of what to look for when there's a forest destruction, when they stop trucks transporting stolen logs, or when they arrest people in the plantations busy with illegal harvesting, or even those that might be busy with committing arson. So, but I would not have the numbers as to how many officials have been trained. Yes, Honorable Khumalo also asked about the whether we have appointed the forest monitors. Yes, we have managed to do that. And then there was a question about Honorable Peters. Was the target achieved for 2025 relating to the CFAs? community forestry agreement. Yes, Honorable Member, we achieved that. I might have missed some of the questions. I've been disadvantaged by the network, but I'm going to try my level best. And then there were questions by Honorable Makasi, the difference between Section 29 and Section 27 of the Act. Section 29 is the one where we are allowed to enter into community forestry agreements. And then Section 27, in the past, before some of us could even join forestry, the plantations were categorized according to their economical viability. So there are those plantations that are called the category A's, which means they are economically viable. And then there are those that are called the category B and C's. And those are the ones that are still left in the department. So the category A's are the ones that we are leasing under Section 27 of the Act to generate revenue for the state. And the revenue generated goes to National Treasury. But where the category A's exist and there are land claimants or the land has been successfully claimed, the revenue generated is paid into a trust fund. And then there's a disbursement model that goes to the communities. So that is the difference between the two. We are CFAing the category B and C's because they are the so-called not so economically viable, and they consist of the woodlots that are for firewood that are used by the community. So that is the difference between why there are those that we are leasing and those that we are CFAing. Then there was a question by Honorable Block. I missed a lot of what Honorable Mkwena was asking. I just hope that my colleagues have picked that up. Which plantations are the ones that have been CFA'd are operating successfully? I think thus far, and in line with the presentation that has been made, we do not have plantations that are operating successfully. Hence, we are in the process of sourcing a strategic partner. Yes, we acknowledge the process has been a bit slower, but we are just hoping that this time around, because we have gone out for the second time, that there would be successful bidders who would partner with the communities. And this partnership the oversight will be government. Since we are saying the CFAs are not a permanent issue, as and when there's conflict in the community or anything else, the minister can always suspend the CFA. I think I have answered one of the question, what happened if the community cannot be self-sustainable? Honorable Member, that is catered for under Section 31 of the Act. The minister can recall or suspend the CFA. I will go to questions by Honorable Bilankulu. How many plantations do we have in each province? The latest that I have in the Eastern Cape, we have 104 plantations. In Limpopo, we have 12. In Mpumalanga, we have 4. In KZN, we have 10. I think in the Western Cape, the only ones that we are remaining with are the ones where we are still trying to source a leasing partner. But in the meantime, we are managing that. And those are in the Boland region. Then there was a question about where does the harvest, I want to believe that the harvest refers to the revenue generated from the sale of timber. It goes to National Treasury. But once there is a strategic partner that will be partnering with the community on the CFAs, the revenue will go back to the community so that they can invest back into the upkeep of the plantations. And there was also a question on who is designated in terms of post-settlement support and CFA. Who are the officials? I think I'm going to leave that for the Director General. There was a question from Honorable Member Temba, the quality of support, to say you have only gone out to source strategic partners lately. How many CFAs has collapsed? Honorable Member, there are no CFAs which has collapsed. I think in forestry, there's a model of leasing which, for lack of a better word, I can say is the best model, where even if there are successful land claimants, the plantations are leased out so that we don't lose the land use. They are leased out, and the strategic partner pays market-related rentals to the community. So even with the CFAs, until we get a partner, so there is no CFA that has collapsed so far. Do we outsource because as DFFE we are broke? Are we outsourcing our transformation responsibilities? No, Honorable Member. The CFAs are in line with one of the deliverables of the commercial forestry sector master plan, where we have three social partners. It's government, which is ourselves as DFFE, labor, and then industry. So one of the deliverables in the master plan pertains to us relinquishing the management of plantations, but this is also in line with the white paper, as mentioned in the presentation. So we are not relinquishing the plantations because we are broke, but we are living up to one of the deliverables of the master plan to say the plantations that you are managing as a department and based on the inadequate resources are not fully utilized, or maybe in an accounting language, they're not being sweat or they're not being put into maximum production. So the reason why we are letting them go to the communities as a form of transformation, but seeking a strategic partner for the communities in the form of the private sector, it's in line with the spirit of the master plan, where the land will not lie fallow or, not used or maximally. Okay. And there was also the question from Honorable Managa. I think I have tried to answer that one. Honorable members, this is not a privatization. The process of entering into community forestry agreement is not privatization. Like I said, Section 31 allows the minister, in case there are community conflicts, to suspend the community forestry agreement and take the plantation back. So it's not a land claimant or a land restitution process. So, and it's not privatization. I might have skipped some of the questions because I had intermittent connectivity challenges. Then there was a question from the chair, the honorable chair. I'm going to try and check if I had. How many communities are targeted for 2030? We will be having 40 CF community forestry agreements, chair by 2030. In a country where there's a shortage of timber supply, how do we measure production in the CFAs? I think once the strategic partner is on the ground and up and running, the department will resume its role of oversight and or compliance. And this is where, Honorable Chair, we're going to be monitoring and ensuring that all the land that is plantable in that particular plantation, there are no TUPs. I think there will be some checklist or instruments that we will develop to ensure that the plantations are maximized. And then there was the issue of, and that is how we're going to be tracking the TUP to ensure that there is no land that is lying fallow. and what is the relation between the working on fire and the DFFE plantations to try and mitigate the risk of fires. Honorable Chair, we have various working on fire teams in the DFFE plantations, and their role, besides fighting fires, is to assist in all the preventative measures, including your establishment of fire breaks and the others. So we are also affiliated to the fire protection associations. I think for now, in case I've missed anything, I will pause here and hand back over to the DDG. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Listake. With regards to the questions of Honorable Mokwena, I believe that there was some technical glitches. What we can do, we can send her questions to the department so that the department can respond in writing in those questions. Because I believe that her side also had some glitches. DG, over to you.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think also, Chair, in addition to that, there may be other questions which we were not capturing at the speed at which they were being outlined by the members. We are going to request that we be assisted so that we can adequately address them. Chairperson, I just want to emphasize on a few points which I think colleagues have also tried to address. The issue of privatization, I think we also want to highlight, Chair, that as a department, we are not privatizing. We are actually partnering and collaborating with the various stakeholders to ensure that the industry, the forestry sector does grow, and we address the challenges that are faced by the sector through expertise that the various stakeholders bring on board in order to ensure that we maximize and the sector does contribute to the economy. So it's not privatization, Chair. It's and the Forestry Master Plan demonstrates this collaboration and all parties bringing on board their respective expertise to maximize and ensure that the sector does contribute to the growth. So that's what I wanted to emphasize. And the other one, Chair, is that yes, forestry is a branch, and also the officials that are responsible for the transfer of plantations. I think Ms. Liseke is the Chief Director and also working very closely with the DDG as also requested by the honorable member in terms of who are designated to deal with these matters. And of course, Mr. Matiane deals with the issues of afforestation, nurseries, and also environmental impact assessment that needs to be done also to enable private sector and even our small forestry growers to also participate in the industry. Chair, the questions that you raised around working on fire, and I think it talks to the issues of integrated fire management within the sector, where we need to ensure that we are putting in place measures to prevent any risk that will affect production in the sector, and also ensuring that we do have fire breaks as required by the Act, and engaging communities. We do work with, we do it through our Working on Fire, But also key is the main drivers are your forestry protection associations on the ground, which we work very closely with to ensure that all the issues affected by integrated fire management are carried out. And the minister does have a responsibility in terms of the act to support where resources are allowing some of these FPAs on the ground. There is also a question, Chair, where Honorable Block was wanting us to indicate consequence management as a result of low production in nurseries and also vacancy rates. I think the colleagues have highlighted, firstly, I think this is as a result of the constraints finances that we have. So we are increasing production on a phased approach as the funds become available. Same applies with the vacancies. Throughout the department, we have limited resources, and then within every branch, including forestry, we then give them available resources to ensure that critical positions are filled. Not all positions are filled, mainly because we do not have the resources from the fiscus through National Treasury, but we try our level best to ensure that critical positions are therefore filled. And the management and the performance, be it in nursery and any other performance area, are managed through a performance management agreements. And at this point in time, we have not necessarily exercised any consequence management, in exception of then following your performance management system to ensure that within what resources are made available to all responsible officials, they are indeed carrying out their responsibilities, and we are meeting our targets and objectives as set out, be it in our strategy, but also in the APP. Chair, I think we are definitely going to respond in writing on other matters that possibly we have not necessarily responded to adequately. And my plea, Chair, is for Secretariat to just provide us with all those detailed questions so that we can ensure that we satisfy the committee in the responses that we provide. Chairperson, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, DG and the team. I just want to check with my honorable members if there's no follow-up question. Okay, I do not see any hands. And of course, we have noted that questions that were raised by Honorable
My hand is
Mokoena.
up, Chair.
Oh, Honorable Managa.
Oh, thank you so much, Honorable House Chair. Today, everybody's calling Honorable De Block Honorable Block. Well, I raised my hand, Chair. I wanted, I think I heard what the DG and what Bono Dada said about the issue of privatization. With privatization, HOD is the process that will only benefit the few, but we hope what you have just outlined is what is going to be happening on the ground. So we'll make a follow up on that so that we make sure that there's no privatization, because like we said, we are anti that. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Managa. Honorable members and colleagues, I think let me first start with the questions that are going to be responded to in writing. One, there was a question on nurseries or on the species that we have on the nurseries. That one was also said it will be responded in writing. And the other one is questions raised by Honorable Mukwena. They will also be responded in writing, and we will make sure that the Secretariat send them almost all the questions so that the department can see which questions they did not respond to, and also the details on the SAPS training numbers, and they also need to be responded to in writing. And our due date for the return responses, it is going to be the 17th of June. We will make sure as the committee that our secretariat send those questions ASAP, so that we can give you adequate time to prepare and respond to them. With that being said, honorable members and colleagues, let me then thank the two deputy ministers in their absentia, the DG and the team, our support staff and the parliamentary live streaming, our members of the portfolio committee for attending today's meeting and also for all your valuable inputs. Thank you. I think we have now, according to the agenda, I think we have reached the end of our meeting. I'm trying to just view my agenda. Yes, we have reached the end of our meeting, and I know that today it is our debate on the budget vote 32. I wish all those who will be participating in today's budget vote debate all the best. We will meet at M46 at 4:45 today. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable
Thank
Chairperson.
you. Bye block.
Aye, aye, aye.
Bye block.
Apologies, Honorable Kiplo.
Bye, block.
Dolevu.
Ta-ta.
Right.